All compulsions are actually forms of reassurance seeking. When we really realize that, it can really help us to learn to break free from OCD. So often we're telling ourselves that I just need to get the answer about this. I just need to do this one thing and then I'm going to feel better. I just need to ask this person this, or wash my hands one more time, or check this one more time. Really, all we're actually doing is we're trying to reassure ourselves. We're trying to make ourselves temporarily feel better. And if we think about the OCD cycle, at 12 o'clock, we have the obsession, this thought, this idea, this sensation, this image, this thing that we really didn't want to be there. Well, suddenly it does come up, probably because we really didn't want to have it. Because typically what we really don't want to have, and we tell ourselves, I really don't want to have that. Well, the brain has a certain kind of way of giving you more of that thing. And so what happens next? Well, because you really don't like that thing, it gives you enormous anxiety. So at 3 o'clock, we start feeling this horrible anxiety. And often there's other difficult emotions that come up with that. Shame, guilt can be very difficult emotions that many people with OCD experience in a very hard way. And those can be very difficult to deal with. But there can be frustration, there can be anger, there can be disillusionment, there can be all sorts of very hard emotions to deal with. And there we are, we're dealing with those things, but we don't want to. And that's the whole thing with the reassurance. Because we don't want to have those emotions, we think of all of these clever ways of reassuring ourselves about those things, because those emotions are actually linked to uncertainty. Really, OCD is all about uncertainty. When you really dig deeper down into it, it's because many things in life are inherently uncertain. And, it's all about the difficult emotions that are linked to that uncertainty. And really what we want to do is to try to reduce that uncertainty, to make ourselves feel better about it. So how can we do that? Well, through reassurance seeking in one form or another. If you wash your hands, you're trying to reassure yourself that the germs have gone. If you're checking the door, you're trying to reassure yourself that it definitely is locked and no one's going to break in. If you're asking your friend for reassurance, even though you've already asked them 10 times in the last 10 minutes, ultimately, again, you're trying to, feel better about that thing. And, if you realize that actually all of our various different compulsions are really about that, we're trying to reduce that uncertainty. We're trying to, feel better by making ourselves feel more certain, because we don't like those difficult emotions that are attached to uncertainty. We don't want to deal with anxiety. We don't want to deal with shame or regret or anger or whatever dark emotions are coming up. And, this is the very difficult thing with OCD. Each and every one of us has to find a way to start allowing those difficult emotions to be there more often, and to realize that actually we're much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. And if you're struggling with getting reassurance all the time, I do now have a 12-week program for OCD and anxiety. It's a structured approach that includes 12 weekly coaching sessions, as well as videos, worksheets, and meditations. It's based on all of my personal experience dealing with OCD, as well as years of coaching people as well. So if you're interested in doing that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com. There's a link in the show notes. And now on with the rest of the episode. The OCD wants to tell you that you're weak, that you can't deal with these things, that you're disempowered, that whenever, certain thoughts come up, that you simply have to do the compulsion, that you don't have a choice. And this is the lie of the OCD. We absolutely do have a choice. We're much more empowered than we realize. But, it's a choice of learning how to feel discomfort. And, I like to think about it in this kind of way. If you imagine a crossroads, really, when we're struggling with OCD, every time that we decide to actually, get that reassurance or to not get that reassurance, we're standing at this crossroads. Which path are we going to take? And the problem is that the left path, that the start of that path, it's very attractive looking. There's beautiful trees, there's flowers. It looks very airy, very nice, like a place that you would love to go on a walk through. But as you walk through that path, which is the path of reassurance, trying to make yourself feel better in the short term, it starts off nice. But as you keep on walking along, the path becomes like a haunted path. It gets darker. It gets gloomier. It's really not what it was pretending to be. And that's when we get trapped. That's when we get stuck with OCD. The reassurance hasn't actually worked. It only ever works in the short term. And ultimately, it leads into a darker place. The other path, though, the right path is, it's very different because it starts out looking a bit like Mordor, looking like that dark place. Nobody really wants to go to Mordor. Nobody really wants to set out on that path, on that walk at all, because it's very uncomfortable. It's really not very nice at all to start out. But as you begin walking along that path, you've chosen the path of not getting that reassurance, of allowing those difficult emotions. Well, as you do that, the path begins to change. You walk around the corner and suddenly it opens up and there's beautiful scenery everywhere. There's a river, there's mountains, there's sunshine that comes out. And you realize, wow, this is the path that I need to take. This is the path that leads to my values, to my goals, to a meaningful life. And, it's all about realizing that, we don't need to get that reassurance. It's okay to be a bit uncertain in life. And, once we begin to practice that, and this is where obviously things like acceptance commitment therapy can be really helpful with this, doing exposure, all of these things, they help us to tolerate and to accept more discomfort, more uncertainty, and to not get reassurance. And, if we can learn to do that, then we really can begin to move past OCD, to manage it, and to start living our lives in a much more productive way. And in a way that is really in line with authenticity, with our values, with our goals, with the things that we really want to achieve in our lives. So I really hope that you found that helpful. If you have any questions at all about anything I spoke about today, do please let me know. And remember, I do offer a free discovery call. To get that, you can head over to my website, robertjamescoaching.com. There's a link in the show notes. Many thanks, and I'll see you next time. This video is for education only. It's not therapy or medical advice. If you're struggling, please speak with a licensed mental health professional.